They laughed at her name before they ever learned her heart. They whispered when she walked into the room, pointed when she spoke up, and stayed silent when she cried. For years, bullying followed her like a shadow. At school, at work, even in places that were supposed to feel safe. Everyone saw her pain, but no one stepped in. Until one day, something inside her broke and rebuilt itself stronger. This is not just the story of a woman who survived cruelty. This is the story of how being silenced for years turned her into a voice so powerful that others finally felt heard. For most people, bullying is something they associate with childhood. Playgrounds, lockers, cruel notes passed in class. But for her, bullying was not a phase. It was a pattern that followed her from one stage of life to the next. It began early. She was different, not loud, not aggressive, not trying to be noticed. She spoke softly, thought deeply, and felt everything intensely. That alone was enough to make her a target. Children mocked the way she spoke. Teachers overlooked her quiet suffering. Adults told her to toughen up, as if pain disappears when ignored. Every morning, she prepared herself not just for the day, but for survival. She learned to sit at the back. She learned not to raise her hand. She learned that silence felt safer than honesty. And the most dangerous lesson of all, she learned to believe that maybe she deserved it. Talks about bruises fade. Words don't. The bullying didn't always involve shouting or physical harm. Sometimes it was laughter that stopped when she entered a room. Sometimes it was opportunities quietly taken away. Sometimes it was being talked over, talked about, or talked down to. At night, she replayed conversations in her head, wondering what she could have done differently to be accepted. She blamed herself for other people's cruelty. This is how bullying works. It convinces the victim that the problem is them. She smiled when she was breaking. She apologized when she did nothing wrong. She shrank herself so others could feel bigger, and the world rewarded her silence. Into adulthood. She thought growing up would save her. It didn't. In the workplace, bullying wore a more professional mask. It was exclusion from meetings. It was jokes disguised as just kidding. It was being underestimated, interrupted, and ignored. When she finally spoke up, she was labeled too sensitive. When she stayed quiet, she was called weak. There was no winning, only enduring. And still, she endured. Because she had bills to pay. Because she had dreams she refused to abandon. Because giving up would mean the bullies won. Every survivor has a moment. Not the moment they cry. Not the moment they feel pain. But the moment they realize they cannot keep living like this. For her, it came quietly. One day, after another dismissive comment, another ignored contribution, another long drive home in silence, she looked at her reflection and didn't recognize herself. She wasn't living. She was surviving on pause. And in that stillness, a question surfaced. If I stay silent, who am I protecting? The answer terrified her. Not herself, not justice, only the comfort of those hurting her. That night, something shifted. Pain that tried to destroy her. She didn't wake up fearless. She woke up honest. Honest about how much it hurt. Honest about how long she'd carried it. Honest about the fact that silence had never saved her. She started small. She wrote her feelings down. Pages of anger, grief, and truth she'd never allowed herself to express. She read stories of others who had been bullied, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone. Their pain sounded like hers. Their fears echoed her own. And then she realized something powerful. If bullying had made her feel invisible, maybe her voice could make others feel seen. The first time she spoke publicly, her hands shook, her voice cracked, her heart raced. But she spoke anyway. She told the truth about what bullying does to a person, how it rewires confidence, distorts self-worth, and lingers long after the bullies move on. People listened. Some cried. Some nodded in recognition. Some came up to her afterward and whispered, "That was my story too." That was the moment she understood. Her pain had a purpose. She didn't just speak, she advocated. She spoke in schools about emotional bullying. She spoke in workplaces about toxic cultures. She spoke online for those too afraid to use their real names. She challenged the idea that bullying is normal or character building, because trauma is not a lesson, and cruelty is not a rite of passage. She became the voice she once prayed would show up for her. Some people accused her of exaggerating. Others told her to move on. A few even mocked her for speaking out. But this time, she didn't shrink. Because she knew something now. Speaking the truth will always make the wrong people uncomfortable, and she refused to let fear decide her future again. Messages poured in. Teenagers who were being bullied at school. Adults who had never healed from childhood wounds. Parents who finally understood what their children were going through. Her voice became a bridge, between silence and strength, between pain and purpose, between suffering alone and healing together. She used to think strength meant enduring quietly. Now she knows better. Strength is saying, "This hurt me." Strength is refusing to normalize abuse. Strength is standing up, not just for yourself, but for those still trapped in silence. She didn't become fearless. She became brave. Final message. To every woman watching, if you were bullied, ignored, mocked, or silenced, this story is for you. You are not weak for being hurt. You are not broken for remembering. And you are not alone. Your voice matters, especially if it shakes. Because sometimes, the people who were silenced the longest become the loudest voices for change.